Are you looking for a podcast that contains bizarre theories, strange facts, and some out of this world opinions? Then this podcast is for you. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you trust the government.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy.
Welcome back, conspiracy lovers, to another episode of Conspiracy, the show where no story is too strange, no theory too far-fetched, and no one is safe from our deep dives into the unknown. I'm Ash, your host, your guide into the world of conspiracies, and occasional devil's advocate. And if you're new around here, welcome to the rabbit hole. Just a reminder, we drop new episodes every Wednesday, and if you're hooked on mind-bending mysteries and wild conspiracies, hit subscribe and drop a glowing review. Seriously, it really gives me the boost to outsmart those pesky algorithms. As you can tell by the title of today's episode, we're venturing into the shadowed depths of Bohemian Grove, a secret retreat nestled among ancient Californian redwoods where the world's most influential men are rumoured to perform rituals that defy explanation. Is it just an exclusive club for the rich and powerful to let their hair down, or does something far darker lurk behind those closed gates? In this episode, we'll uncover cryptic symbols, delve into the strange ceremonies, and explore the interlocking networks that might be pulling the strings behind global events. So, if you're ready to question everything and join me on a journey through the occult underbelly of elite society, then stick around. This isn't just another podcast. It's a descent into a world where secrets, satire, and suspense collide. Let's dive in. Today's episode kicks off with a first-hand account from a genuine insider, an old-timer who's been to Bohemian Grove and isn't shy about revealing its bizarre secrets. I was lucky enough to do an interview with this guy last week, and let me tell you, we are growing, baby. This guy is a real inspiration of mine and also fueled this podcast for sure. He prefers to remain anonymous, and I'll respect that wish, but his story is as detailed as it is riveting. So let's get into it. So he recalls arriving at Bohemian Grove on a cool, balmy Saturday evening, precisely at around 8:45 p.m. in Monterey, the town on the outskirts of the secretive retreat. Sober and observant, he drove into a world that felt as if it were lifted straight from a cult classic. Approaching the grove, he encountered the wrought iron gates, intricately embossed with the club's enigmatic motto, "Weaving spiders, come not here," which is a quote from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. So the gate swung open, and beyond the gates, the grove revealed its full majesty. 2.7 thousand acres of towering ancient redwoods, a natural cathedral of mystery. The air was thick with the crisp scent of pine, mingled with campfire smoke and a peculiar whiff of expensive cologne, a fragrance that underscored the exclusivity of this hidden world. Once inside, every detail spoke of the grove's dual nature. He described the landscape as divided into camps with cryptic names like Lost Angels and Owl's Nest. One of the most striking features was the 40-foot tall concrete owl constructed in 1929, a silent, imposing sentinel that seemed to judge every covert handshake and hushed promise. Now, if you know anything about Bohemian Grove, you would have seen the owl. Like, that is the staple piece. It's from all the leaked videos, any photos that have been taken. You see this giant owl. So if you've ever seen anything to do with Bohemian Grove before, that's that owl, basically. What truly set his experience apart were the tangible artifacts he discovered. He managed to get his hands on an actual 1998 map of Bohemian Grove, complete with a list of attendees. We'll dive into them a bit later. But that is a verifiable piece of evidence that links the world's elite to this secret haven. He also obtained photographic evidence and official documents that link figures like George H.W. Bush and even the CIA to the Grove. And these items aren't just curiosities, they're a testament to the authenticity of his investigation. So, in his retelling, our insider explains that Bohemian Grove isn't merely a woodland retreat where powerful men come to relax. It's an exclusive, invitation only club where membership is fiercely guarded through a rigorous vetting process. Only those deemed worthy, be they former presidents, corporate titans, or political strategists, are allowed in. Even job opportunities at the Grove are tightly controlled, just showing that it's so secretive, and it kind of gives off this almost mythical status of the club, right? So later on, what he actually saw were absolutely shocking details in terms of they were performing rituals, they were doing sacrifices. They even at one point sacrificed something that looked like a baby, wasn't an actual baby, but they were kind of performing this ritual in front of the owl where they kill the baby, and and there's like a whole performative like blood splattering, and they all get covered in blood, and yeah, it's pretty intense. And he said that it's all in darkness, just under candlelight, and they're all dressed up in these ancient mystical outfits, and it's all men. There's no women there. Yeah, what he said, it was absolutely unreal, so disturbing, the imagery. They were having fake orgies. They were just, humiliation rituals of the younger members. It's really twisted stuff. But unfortunately, he was caught and removed from the Bohemian Grove, and was basically threatened. Don't tell anyone, don't discuss it. He has since come forward and he's spoke his story. But yeah, it's just really, really, really bizarre stuff. So as we dive further now into this story and uncover the details and expose more of the Grove's disturbing underbelly, remember that this isn't just a tale of nature and nostalgia. It's a narrative steeped in conspiracy, exclusivity, and a hint of absurdity. A story where every whispered secret might just be the prelude to a scandal that shapes the fate of nations. And honestly, the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. Okay, so it's San Francisco in 1872. A scruffy band of journalists, writers, and actors decided they'd had enough of the drudgery of everyday life. They formed the Bohemian Club as a sort of artistic hideaway, a place where free spirits could swap witty banter and satirical tales away from society's prying eyes. Back then, it was all about creativity, rebellious humor, and a genuine love for the arts. After its humble beginnings in the 1870s, the club's ethos of unbridled artistic freedom started clashing with an emerging reality. Money talks, and it talks loudly. By the 1890s, sharp dressed businessmen began to see that the Bohemian spirit, originally about challenging conventions, had a secret allure when it came with backstage passes to power. So imagine a scenario where the freewheeling charm of counterculture gets a serious corporate upgrade. It's like the Renaissance getting a merger with Wall Street, complete with a side of ironic mustaches and a nod to modern elitism. Fast forward to the early 20th century, detailed records show that by 1894, nearly a quarter of its members were drawn from the financial and political spheres, a seismic shift from the scruffy bohemians of yore. The club's transition was so striking that some historians now refer to it as a corporate coup d'etat of artistic ideals. The transformation was not gradual, though. It was almost as if someone swapped out the paintbrushes and typewriters for tailored suits and briefcases overnight. Wealthy businessmen and political heavyweights started joining in, attracted by the law of exclusivity and the opportunity to rub shoulders with the cultural elite. In no time, that quirky club transformed into a veritable cabal of the rich and powerful, and Bohemian Grove was officially born. A hidden 2.7 thousand acre retreat deep in the redwoods of Monte Rio, California, where the world's top dogs escape their boardrooms and political battles for a fortnight every July. And if you're into it and you want to find the exact location, the coordinates are 38.17 north, 122.88 west, if you're into that kind of thing. So, stepping into the club's urban headquarters in downtown San Francisco, one is immediately struck by the palpable tension between its artistic origins and its modern day function as a bastion of power. The atmosphere is filled with the low hum of whispered deals over crisp, meticulously prepared lunches. The clink of expensive cutlery and the rustle of high-end newspapers are as common as the occasional boisterous laugh echoing from a room where someone's reciting an impromptu tongue-in-cheek ode to capitalism. A particularly quirky anecdote from the archives tells of a well known member whose prized vintage car, decked out in immaculate leather and chrome, was so flamboyant that even the ancient redwoods seemed to pause and gossip. That car, a 1927 Rolls Royce Phantom, became a symbol of the club's ironic evolution, a relic of bohemian freedom turned into a rolling emblem of corporate swagger. This isn't just a story about the passage of time, it's a vivid illustration of how the club reinvented itself. Today, the Bohemian Club serves as a nexus where the ideals of a bygone era are repackaged with a dash of elitist charm, creating a unique blend of artistic nostalgia and high powered networking. It's a transformation that leaves you wondering, can creativity really survive the corporate takeover, or has it simply been cleverly camouflaged behind a veneer of exclusivity and fine whiskey? So, while many might think of the Bohemian Club as just a footnote in history, its evolution reveals a compelling, if observed, narrative of ambition, reinvention, and a touch of irreverent style that continues to define its secretive legacy. Right then, let's shift our focus to the physical and symbolic landscape of Bohemian Grove. We simply cannot discuss this place without mentioning its most iconic symbol, the 40-foot tall concrete owl. Now, as we touched on earlier, this owl isn't just for show, it does play a central role in rituals. Rituals like the cremation of care, which we will be touching on in just a moment, but let's consider the owl's significance on a deeper level. Its moss clad surface and stoic gaze evoke not only wisdom, but also an almost mythic quality, a silent sentinel overseeing an elite world of hidden pacts and clandestine gatherings. The Grove's layout is equally fascinating. Rather than a random scatter of tents and cabins, the area is divided into distinct camps with evocative names such as Lost Angels and Owl's Nest. Each camp functions as a microcosm, contributing to an overarching narrative of exclusivity and ritualistic symbolism. This deliberate naming isn't new, it echoes what we've heard about the club's penchant for secrecy, but also invites the curious to search for meaning in every corner of this woodland realm. What's particularly striking is how the man made elements seamlessly intertwine with the natural surroundings. Stone pathways wind through the red woods, leading to open clearings that double as amphitheatres for dramatic performances and whispered policy talks. Here, subtle architectural choices, like the placement of carved reliefs or the strategic use of lighting, are clearly designed to enhance the grove's enigmatic atmosphere. To add a fresh twist, I came across an interesting anecdote in a recent expose. A local historian once described how, on a particularly misty morning, a group of visitors stumbled upon an intricately laid mosaic hidden beneath fallen leaves in a secluded part of the grove. This mosaic, composed of symbols that resembled archaic sigils and even hints of astronomical charts, suggests that there might be layers of meaning embedded in the very ground of the grove itself. So, whether this is a deliberate nod to ancient mystical traditions or simply a playful flourish by the club's artistic members, it perfectly encapsulates the double edged nature of Bohemian Grove, a place where the mundane meets mysterious. And it's this careful balance between the natural beauty and the deliberate symbolism that sets the scene for these clandestine gatherings and also fuels the endless conspiracies about what might be really going on behind those heavily guarded gates. So let's dive into some of the rituals and ceremonies that apparently take place at Bohemian Grove. First up, we've got the ritual known as the cremation of care, right? A ritual so absurd it's like watching a group of Fortune 500 board members moonlight as medieval jesters. Now, this isn't just your average bonfire night, it's a proper high octane mix of paganry and absurdity that only the world's most powerful chaps could dream up. According to accounts, every year, as twilight falls on this secretive woodland retreat, the assembled elite, men who in daylight command boardrooms and governments, don elaborate cloaks and hoods. They gather in a clearing around a massive stone effigy, a burning symbol of dull care, meant to purge them of their worldly anxieties. But beneath the theatrical chant and the rhythmic, almost hypnotic recitations, lies an unsettling undercurrent. There's a sense that these rituals, steeped in symbolism and arcane references, are not merely a whimsical escape from responsibility, but a deliberate performance laden with dark overtones. Honestly sounds like a scene straight out of an underground theatre production, if I'm being honest. You got the elite blokes in cloaks, more dramatic than a Shakespearean tragedy. And you can almost picture and hear this low, eerie hum of ancient incantations echoing through the redwoods, as if the trees themselves were whispering secrets of forbidden pacts. And it's been said that during this ceremony, the air becomes so thick with a blend of fear and intoxication that even the most hardened executives might feel a shiver down their spines. And as they should. I mean, some of this shit that you can see, honestly, you can just go and have a look at Bohemian Grove footage. Some of this shit is pretty intense, where you're kind of like, all these men just gathering, like, in the middle of the woods with these cloaks doing random weird performances with blood and sacrifices and rituals. Yeah, it's dodgy as fuck. It's so dodgy. And yet, amidst the unsettling ambience, there's an irreverent streak of humor to it as well. It's almost like a self-mocking quality, humiliation, as these powerful men recite lines that sound like a cross between Shakespeare and, I don't know, badly scripted Monty Python sketch or something. I'll bite you. I'll bite you. Monty Python, what an absolute classic. I'll bite you. You know what my favourite part is from Monty Python? I think it's from the Holy Grail. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is when he's pretending to like ride the horse and his slaves behind with the coconuts going. If you never watched it, you won't get that reference, and you should go watch it. Honestly, I talk about so much TV shows and movies on this podcast. I might just switch it. We're not going to talk about conspiracies anymore. We're just going to talk about films and TV. Should I start a podcast about film and TV? Maybe. Let me know in the comments. Well, here's a fact to set your heart racing. It was during one notorious session that a hidden camera, smuggled in by none other than Alex Jones. Alex Jones. Yeah, you're all gonna die. Well, he captured glimpses of the ceremony. The tiny device, barely the size of a matchbox, and tucked away under his cloak, captured a sequence so surreal it can only be described as a behind the curtain glimpse into secret society's private performance. What he filmed was a chilling procession of hooded figures, their voices layered over the roar of a pyre, with the monumental concrete owl looming overhead like a guardian of dark secrets. And it's like, you should just go and just try and find this footage, because this guy was found out, he was kicked out, he was almost sued. Like, he's been through the ringers, Alex Jones. And you know, a lot of people, if you didn't know, Alex Jones used to be like an independent journalist. He actually used to be, he had an actual job before. Like, he was pretty well recognized in the world of journalism. So he's not always just been the, I'm Alex Jones and stop the government. He's not always been that guy, but you know, I can't imagine if this stuff is just constantly going around your head. It's the only thing you do. It would send you Alex Jones mad. Honestly, it would. But yeah, to add to the mix, and that you can see in this footage as well, is that the effigy that's set ablaze is more than just a pile of straw and wood. It embodies that dull care ritual, right? So, you know, you're casting off your very kind of anxieties, your human nature, you're kind of getting rid of that, right? So that's the idea, that behind those polished smiles and polished agendas of the elites lies an effort to literally burn away the weight of a human emotion, right? As you know, it's a very, very dark ritual. Get rid of my humanity so I can just complete and do inhumane things and not have a conscience for it, or like all year do inhumane things and do really shitty things, and then just 2 weeks of every year in July they just get rid of all of that. They just kind of like a giant therapy session. Yeah, it speaks volumes, doesn't it, when you really think about it? that all of these people, you're like, how can they do that? How can they run companies that are responsible for XYZ and they just don't care? Well, maybe they do care, but then 2 weeks of every year they just get rid of it. So they're like, and reset. And one rumor actually that I have found online is that in one such ceremony where they're all like, dance around the fire and doing all that crazy shit, right? There was an overly enthusiastic participant that tripped over his own cloak and actually sent him sprawling into the burning fire. Yeah, it wasn't hurt or anything like that, but like, can you just imagine you're just doing all of this fucking weird dark shit, and then one of your mates just ends up going flying into the fire. You're just like, oh god, Dave's at it again. He's ruining it. We can't even get this right. Can you imagine just everyone just like looking at each other like, so are we going to continue with the human sacrifice, or are we just going to laugh at Dave? What's going on? But it does go to show, though, even though they're trying to get rid of their human emotions and become whatever they're trying to become, even that is not free of human error. So even though they want to get rid of all this humanity, there's still moments where kind of us as humans, the fumbling messes that we are, does still come shining through. But these rituals, they take place every year, and they have done from like 1893 or something like that. So there's been hundreds of these rituals, and they're at this point it's so choreographed with this cocktail of terror, symbolism, and dark humor, I guess, that it's kind of like it's quite unsettling to think that every year they all gather to do this thing where it's like, what is the actual purpose? Okay, you're trying to get rid of your humane feelings, or have a place where you can discuss world secrets in private. But what's the actual purpose? I mean, you could go into any boardroom and do that at any point. What is the significance of 2 weeks in July every year? And also, how do you get an invite? Can I get an invite? Is this my official request for an invite? Sounds fun. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds fucking fun. All right, let's get into and examine the tangible clues that add an extra layer of eerie credibility to the whole Bohemian Grove saga. Now, it's one thing to whisper about secret meetings and bizarre rituals, but when you start unearthing the actual artifacts, things get a bit hair raising. And I like that about Bohemian Grove because there is quite a lot of evidence and quite a lot of photographic evidence that goes with it. So, um, for example, there's a detailed map from 1998 that's been making the rounds among insiders. And this isn't just a run of the mill camping guide, right? The reverse side is meticulously annotated with the names of every attendee, including some of the most influential figures you could imagine. And here's a list of some of the most frequently cited names linked to Bohemian Grove and some details about what they did there. So you got Ronald Reagan, the former US president. He's possibly one of the most well-known figures said to have attended Grove events. His presence is part of the club's lore, where he was noted to have participated in various ceremonies. You got Richard Nixon, another former president. Nixon's attendance has been widely reported over the years. His involvement helped cement the Grove's reputation as a gathering place for those at the pinnacle of political power. Then you got George W. Bush. What isn't this guy fucking involved in? Though details are, obviously shrouded in secrecy, many claim that Bush was a regular guest at the Grove, linking his influential career with his clandestine retreats. You got Henry Kissinger, the influential diplomat and former Secretary of State. He's often mentioned among the high-powered attendees as well. Then you got Walter Cronkite, the legendary broadcast journalist. He's reported to have lent his voice to the Grove's rituals, most notably as the voice of the ceremonial owl during the cremation of Care. And, on the back of that map, his name is there, clearly written, and Nixon's at the top as well, by the way. You've also got Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a touch and go with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sometimes it's more in the realm of rumor than confirmed fact. but the former governor and action star has been linked to Grove events over the years many times. But due to the club's strict secrecy and the occasional leak from investigative reporters and first hand accounts, many other high profile names are rumored to have attended over the years as well. And if you want to find out more of the actual names, just go to Google, give it a Google, you'll find it. By the way, there's the reason that they have names on the maps, right? Is because they do this big elaborate performance, the rituals, etc., and they each get a role that they have to play, and they have to rehearse their lines and rehearse the scene, etc., and then they put on this big elaborate performance. I know, fucking weird, but that's where the names are coming from, because it's kind of like got ceremonial owl, and then next to it's got water cronkite, that kind of thing. And next up, we got photographic evidence as well. Although it's grainy, as all fucking things that we want to see is grainy, but it's undeniably real. And these photos have been captured by trusted sources who managed to sneak a peek behind the velvet curtains of the grove. These images show hooded figures and influential men caught in moments of unguarded camaraderie amid the towering red woods. There's one in particular where you can clearly see Reagan and Nixon there. Like, that's one of the biggest photos that you'll see when you go to Google. It's the one with Nixon and Reagan sat there at the Bohemian Grove. And next up, we got one of the most startling pieces of evidence, which is an official document that directly links George W. Bush to secret meetings at the Grove, and even hints at connections with the CIA as well. And this isn't just a flimsy memo scribbled on a napkin. It's a document marked with a seal and official annotations, and its very existence raises unsettling questions about the true nature of the deals struck at Bohemian Grove. And not to be outdone, the Grove's event program offers another layer of intrigue. These aren't mere flyers, they're detailed scripts of the cremation of care ceremony, some dating back decades. One particular eye catching program, allegedly from 2015, lays out the entire ritual, and each of these artifacts, from the annotated 1998 map and secret photographs to the official documents and meticulously detailed programs, contributes to a mosaic of evidence that is as fascinating as it is disconcerting. They hint at a world where power is not just wielded in polished boardrooms, but also secretly negotiated in the dim, dark woods. Alright, let's unpack some fresh angles on the occult symbolism. So, behind the obvious theatrical rituals, there's an intricate language of symbols embedded in every element of the ceremonies, a sort of secret code designed to blur the lines between performance and genuine mystical experience. For instance, consider the deliberate use of liminal spaces. One striking detail is the journey across the lake on a small boat, a passage that seems to represent a rite of passage, much like the ancient rituals where the soul is ferried from the known world into a realm of mystery and transformation. This isn't merely about moving from one physical location to another, it's about crossing from the mundane to a threshold of altered perception, a moment where the participants leave behind the constraints of everyday morality. Then there's the visual impact of elaborate costumes and masks that appear during these rituals. The ornate, sometimes grotesque attire, reminiscent of medieval mystery plays, serves a dual purpose, right? On one hand, it's a nod to age old traditions of secret societies. On the other, it creates an atmosphere so disorientating that it can almost hypnotize those watching. Some researchers have speculated that this carefully choreographed display of symbols and gestures might induce a trance like state in the participants, blurring that line between self conscious performance and unconscious belief. Another new layer to consider is the interplay of elemental forces as well: fire, water, and earth, which are harnessed in these rituals. The flickering fire, in particular, isn't just about spectacle, it's a metaphor for both destruction and renewal. When the effigy is set ablaze, or more generally, when a symbol is consumed by fire, It may be interpreted as a radical attempt to purge guilt, remorse, or even empathy. This violent purging could be seen as a way to harden the hearts of these men, ensuring that they can wield power without the encumbrance of sentiment. Critics have even drawn parallels with the ancient Eleusinian mysteries, where secret initiatory rites promise spiritual rebirth through symbolic death. In much the same way, these rituals might be intended to strip participants of their human frailties, transforming them into beings capable of the cold, calculated decisions required in high stakes leadership. All told, the occult symbolism at Bohemian Grove can be viewed as a layered tapestry of liminality, psychological transformation, and elemental allegory. It's not just an elaborate show for rich blokes looking to escape responsibility, it might be a carefully designed mechanism to recalibrate their inner selves, ensuring that for a fleeting moment they are free from the weight of moral inhibition. And while that notion might provoke a little chuckle, there's an undercurrent of terror in the idea that this ritual desensitization could ultimately pave the way for ruthless power. Now let's take a look at some infiltration claims. And this is where it gets interesting, guys. So, there are several specific episodes and pieces of evidence that fuel conspiracy theories about Bohemian Grove. Claims that go well beyond mere rumor. So, for instance, in 1989, investigative journalist Philip Wise managed to slip into Grove disguised as an ordinary guest. His subsequent expose inside Bohemian Grove provided detailed descriptions of off the record exchanges and shadowy meetings that may interpret as evidence of secret rituals with global implications. Then there's the infamous 2002 incident involving Richard McCaslin, widely known in conspiracy circles as the Phantom Patriot. McCaslin, sporting a skull mask and armed with an assortment of weaponry, attempted to disrupt the ceremonies by targeting the grove's central symbols. His dramatic incursion, marked by his efforts to damage key ritual objects, including a failed attempt to burn the massive concrete owl, ended in a tense armed standoff with security forces and his subsequent arrest. For those who do believe in the sinister nature of the Grove, though, McCaslin's actions are seen as a desperate, though ultimately unsuccessful, attempt to expose what he viewed as occult practices. More recently, in 2005, an activist known as Chris Jones managed to capture short video clips from within the Grove while employed there temporarily. Although the footage was brief and heavily redacted, it added another layer of visual evidence that some claim showed parts of the secret ceremonies. Alongside these dramatic events, leaked internal memos and partial guest lists have periodically surfaced on fringe internet forums. One such memo allegedly mentioned a project code named Project Shadow, which theorists interpret as an internal reference to covert discussions on global economic control. And then, of course, we have Alex Jones, the controversial radio host and conspiracy theorist, has long been associated with exposing the secretive world of Bohemian Grove. His work on the subject is most notably encapsulated in his documentary Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove, in which he claims to have infiltrated the annual summer encampment of the Bohemian Club. So in 2000, Jones and his crew reportedly managed to breach Bohemian Grove's strict security. Using a hidden camera, he captured footage of the infamous cremation of care ceremony. According to Jones, the footage shows not just theatrical pageantry, but elements that hint at occult practices and even human sacrifice. Jones contends that the Grove is not merely a social retreat for high-powered men to relax, but a place where dark, secretive rituals are performed that have profound implications on global power structures. He alleges that these rituals are rooted in ancient pagan and Luciferian traditions, suggesting that the ceremonies are designed to desensitize participants to moral constraints and pave the way for a new world order. And the thing with Alex Jones now is he's been so demonized by the press and basically made out to just be an absolute mockery. And they've discredited him, they've made him just an absolute joke. But actually, what all he was ever trying to do was expose what he's seen, and that's all he's ever trying to do. Um, and of course, when you try and speak out against the system and try and do something that goes against everything that we are led to believe or told to believe, then you're going to be scrutinized. And whether you believe his findings and whether you think that Alex Jones is credible or a sensationalist, Alex Jones has undeniably played a significant role in popularizing the narrative that Bohemian Grove is a hub of clandestine activity. His coverage has sparked numerous debates and inspired further investigations into the connections between elite social clubs and global policy making. And Alex Jones is a fucking legend. Like, we cannot ever take that away from him. His work continues to fuel discussions among theorists and curious skeptics alike. And all that, plus, constantly keep talking about these type of things, makes Bohemian Grove a lasting symbol in the realm of secret society lore. And that's what we love. Okay, so we keep talking about this interconnecting network of elite societies, power brokers, massive global decisions being made in one place, and that, the Grove isn't just an exclusive retreat, it's a place where shadowy organizations shape global policy from behind closed doors. We keep mentioning that, but what does that actually mean? Well, for example, detailed network analysis have revealed that a significant number of Bohemian Club members also hold membership in groups such as the Bilderberg Group, the Council of Foreign Relations, and various top tier businesses and social clubs like the Pacific Union Club and the Lynx Club. So you can go and research what all of that means for sure. So, Bilderberg Group, Council of Foreign Relations, Pacific Union Club, the Lynx Club. I won't dive into all of the specifics. I'll let your imaginations run wild there, but you can understand what most of those clubs are. Big boy clubs. Then you've also got one study that even suggested that up to 15% of individuals listed as Bohemians appear on guest or membership lists. And we're talking a significant percentage of individuals all on membership lists or guest lists for these organizations. So this overlap is not accidental. It's a part of an intricate web of interlocking directorships and personal connections that facilitates confidential discussions, coordinated decision makings. They're all just holding hands, basically, is what I'm trying to say. When you consider the case of high profile figures like Henry Kissinger and Richard Nixon, who, as we mentioned, have been reported as participants at Bohemian Grove, their dual presence reinforces the idea that these retreats aren't just isolated events, but are nodes in a network that spans international borders. For instance, some leaked memos allegedly referring to a project named Project Concord hints that discussions at the Grove might feed into larger geopolitical strategies connected to meetings held by bodies like the Business Council and the Bilderberg Group. There are also numerous academic studies on elite cohesion, such as those by G. Williams Domhoff, which map out how exclusive clubs serve as breeding grounds for a consolidated ruling class. So you can see it's all coming together. Bohemian Grove is not just its own little, we're just a little cult in the middle of the forest, right? It's a huge connected thing. It's a connected group, and all of its members are then connected in other groups, which then connect to other groups. It's a massive web of connection of elites. And when you connect all these elites, you can only imagine the things that are being discussed and the things that are being planned behind closed doors, and then they come out into the real world and they just impose it on everyone else. Because further studies also indicate that the same individuals who attend the Grove also serve on corporate boards and hold influential positions in policy planning organizations. This interlocking of membership suggests a deliberate overlap where personal networks and shared social experiences reinforce one another. In practical terms, it means that a decision made in a quiet dinner at the Grove might very well echo in the boardrooms across the globe. And I know today was a short one, guys, but that is a wrap for today's deep dive into the enigmatic world of Bohemian Grove, around where theatrical mysticism meets elite power in a blend of awe, terror, and dark humour. Although it was a short episode, we have unravelled secret symbols, examined the hidden connections, and explored the mysterious rituals that some say are the very heartbeat of global influence. Whether you believe these ceremonies are merely elaborate pageantry or the coded language of an underground cabal, one thing remains clear: there's more lurking beneath the surface than meets the eye. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think these secretive gatherings really mean? Are they harmless rites of renewal, or do they conceal something far more sinister? Drop your thoughts, theories, or even a wild conjecture in the comments, or join the conversation on our social channels at Conspiracy. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok. You can also email me, conspiracy@gmail.com. I'm always keen to hear what you guys have to say, and send me some suggestions of conspiracies you want me to cover. I'm always looking out for those too.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy.
That's it for today's episode of Conspiracy, where weird is the new normal. Join us next Wednesday for a brand new conspiracy theory. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, leave me a review, and let's keep the conversation alive. Because in a world where power operates behind closed doors, every question counts. And remember, the truth is out there.